So hello and welcome to the video. Now 6 months ago, almost exactly to the day, I sat in my hotel room in Rio and made a video where I talked about my recent cancer diagnosis. So I got a tremendously positive response to that video, and I didn't make it to become the centre of attention, but I wanted to encourage as many of you as possible to follow up on symptoms that you may be having. And I did get feedback that lots of you had been to a doctor to investigate symptoms that you may have had. And it was very rewarding to know that my misfortune may help others avoid similar misfortune, or indeed if others do experience similar misfortunes, they find out about it early enough to be able to take control of the situation. I won't repeat everything I said in that earlier video, but if you haven't watched it, I was inspired to get some of my symptoms checked, having heard the experience of a chap called Simon Jordan on the radio who'd experienced similar symptoms to me. So for me, it ended up being a 5-stage process, the last of which was a biopsy which revealed that I have a 2mm tumour in my prostate. But at each of those stages, the messaging was very much that we don't think you've got cancer, but something's up, so we need to keep investigating. And 6 months later, I think we now know why they were saying that. Now my tumour is very small, it's not particularly aggressive, and it is completely confined within the prostate. Now we could certainly have piled in with any number of treatments that would have had a very, very good chance of curing me completely. The most extreme of those is to remove the prostate entirely, which will cure this problem and it will remove the chance of there ever being a problem again in the future. Now I'm quite attached to my prostate, literally, and as with all of the treatments there would be an immediate impact to me of undergoing any of those procedures. And while my tumour remains small and it remains quite ungrumpy, the short-term impact on me of undergoing any treatment would be worse than the consequences of just leaving it. So the plan is to leave it untreated until the impact on me of the tumour is worse than the impact on me of treating it. And when I do have to undergo treatment sometime down the road, there will still be an excellent chance of a complete cure. I am still far more likely to die of something other than prostate cancer. So this strategy has a name, it's called active surveillance, and I've now had 2 cycles of surveillance post-diagnosis. And for me that has been having a PSA test every 3 months. I'll continue to do it for another quarter, and then in November, on the anniversary of my diagnosis, I'll have a repeat MRI scan. The PSA test is a very simple blood test. They really don't need a lot of blood to do it either, so it's a very quick and easy process to have the blood drawn. So the prostate sheds stuff into the bloodstream which is detectable and measurable by this PSA test. It doesn't tell you what's wrong with the prostate, but it will tell you if the prostate is unhappy. So last September I told my GP about my symptoms. He immediately sent me for a PSA test, which is the first thing that's usually done, and that came back at 5.6. That panicked my GP a little, even if the urology department didn't seem to think it was a particularly outrageous score, but as he was referring me he sent me for a repeat test, and that one came back as 5.2. So that was the first of the 5 stages that ended up with the biopsy and the diagnosis. So fast forward to March this year, and my first PSA test under this active surveillance regime came back as 1.7. And I've just done my second, and that came back at 1.6. That is fantastic, albeit slightly perplexing news. So you remember the urology team all the way through said that there was something up with my prostate and that it was very unlikely to be cancer. They did also mention that the MRI test revealed some sort of discoloration on my prostate which looked like it could be an infection. They couldn't confirm that, so sent me for the biopsy. That revealed that I have a tumour, but it does now look as if I also had some sort of prostate infection. And that infection was actually the root cause of why my PSA was raised. Had I not had the infection, if indeed that's what happened, my GP would never have referred me, I would never have gone through all of that testing, and I would not have learned that I have a tumour. So I'm probably really lucky to have discovered that I have this tumour. It may not sound like I'm lucky, but I always prefer to know about stuff so I'm in control of it. And it looks like I found out about this tumour very, very, very early. And that puts me in control. It was a very strange experience to hear that score of 1.7. This whole journey has been strange, but that was the peak of strangeness. And the specialists are all at a little bit of a loss to explain what's going on. Having had an infection is the most reasonable and likely explanation, but we don't know and we'll probably never know. But I'll have another PSA in another 3 months and then go for my MRI in November. That will produce another detailed image of my prostate and will hopefully give us a few more answers. And as long as my PSA score remains well below 5, there'll not be any need for treatment, and hopefully it will remain that way for some time, years, perhaps even decades. So I have cancer and I have to deal with that. It means my travel insurance has gone up and it'll have impacts on other areas of my life. It does mean I get free prescriptions, although because I'm not taking any medication for this, I don't actually have any prescriptions that I would now get for free. And if that infection had cleared up before I took that first PSA test, I may never have known I had it. Now, as regards my symptoms, it's very hard to measure them or to have any accurate quantification of their impact, but it does feel like they have eased a little bit over recent months, which does add weight to the theory that the infection was the primary cause of those symptoms. So that's my 6-monthly update on my prostate cancer journey, and basically it's all good news. Thanks again for all of your kind words after that first video, and many of you very kindly still ask me how I am in comments you leave to subsequent videos. But I'm fine. I feel fine. The tests are coming back fine, and I expect to remain feeling fine for quite some time yet. So thanks for watching. If you've got symptoms, get them checked. Believe me, it is so much better to be in control. And in about another 6 months, probably after the MRI, I'll make another update video like this one. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.